And we are live. Hey people, how are you doing? Welcome to the Sports Therapy Association podcast. My name is Matt Phillips, creator of OneChatLive.com. And as always, this episode is being recorded live at 8 o'clock UK time on a Tuesday evening on the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel and Facebook page. So tonight in episode 225, we bring you part 3 of our Focus on Business special, bringing you expert guests sharing hugely important advice on how to get the best out of you and your business, whether you work alone or in a team, or indeed have your own team of healthcare professionals. In this episode, entitled Strategy and Mindset, Collaboration over Competition, I'll shortly be joined by my special guest, Andy Thomas, Director of 𝐸𝐴𝑒quip, and business consultant Andy Hosgood of andyhosgood.co.uk, who together are going to be discussing how collaboration, rather than just competition, can be key in growing and expanding your healthcare business. It is being recorded live, so I'd like to say welcome first of all to people who are already through the door. 𝐶𝐶𝐶 Hislop has joined us. If you do decide to join us live, podcast listeners, then it means you can obviously ask questions to our guests directly, and when you do ask a question or make a comment, I can bring it up onto the screen so everybody watching on YouTube can see your beautiful face, like Cecily's here saying, "What's on my handsomes?" which I think is how are you, my handsome people? Yep, that's good. I've translated Cecily so that you can do that. So if you're listening to the podcast and you want to join us live, then that's what you have to do. Go onto YouTube on a Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Brian Huxley says, evening. Hey, Brian, thanks for joining us as usual. Nikki Mansfield, evening, Groovers. Looking forward to another Double Trouble episode. We're good, these Double Troubles. Yeah, we're going to keep this going, I think, for a while. If your name's not Andy, you're not coming in. Exactly. And I think in the background, behind a flannel somewhere, we've got another Andy hidden, but we won't bring him on tonight. We won't talk about that. Right, so there we go. Right, before we bring up tonight's guests, I just have to say very thank you to last week's Focus on Business 2, where I was joined by special guests Katie Bell, founder of and CEO of Thrive Health and Wellness Business Coaching, and Daniel Lawrence, creator of the Physio channel on YouTube and European Director of Education for 𝐸𝐴𝑒quip. They joined us and gave us a hugely interesting insight into both the advantages and potential pitfalls of social media, including a look at how YouTube could be of more value than you may realize. And that episode, as with all our episodes, can be listened to on all popular podcast apps and watched, should you wish to have that visual entertainment, on the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel and also the website, 𝐻TA.co.uk. Right then, back to tonight's episode. If you have joined us live, do feel free to ask questions whenever you like in the comments. I've given both Andys the power just to stop me dead in my tracks and say, Cecily's got a good question, or Nikki's got a good question. So do feel free to ask questions and take advantage of the fact you joined us live. But for now, I should bring up our guests for episode 225, Strategy and Mindset, Collaboration over Competition, Andy Thomas and Andy Hosgood.
Hello.
Hey, hello, Andy and Andy. How are you?
Good, thank you. Yeah, you?
I'm very well. Yeah, good to see you both. Thank you very much for giving up your time, as always.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you. I've got to say, I'm very excited by the enthusiasm on your questions. It seems like quite a good vibe already.
A very good vibe, yeah. And we've got a nice diversity of people up and down the country there. So, yeah, thanks everyone to join us live. So let's get straight into it. Andy Hosgood, if I may start with you first of all. Been on the podcast quite a few times now. I think I was telling you as we were off air that I think it's going to be the 5th time you've been here over the last 225 weeks, which I think is actually a record. So congratulations, you're up there.
Thank you, appreciate it. Do I get a medal or something? Or
there'll be something in the post. Yeah, it'll be signed in the post for you. So that'll be on its way. You've also spoken to the STA Theatre at Therpy Expo a couple of times and always generating amazingly good feedback. So thank you again for joining us. But I always say this for listeners who aren't aware of you, and hopefully there are people listening on the podcast who don't know who you are. Otherwise, this is just a big echo chamber and a waste of time. I know it's tricky with a man of your experience and age, but could you give us a little breakdown of your background and how you got into coaching businesses?
Yeah, thanks. So physio by background and spent the first 10 years of my career, again, building private practices, and that's what I focused on. Let's say a injury. I ruptured my Achilles tendon, so I was out of clinic, and it gave me the opportunity to go into some consultancy work, which I've spent the last 10 years of my career in. So I've been very, very fortunate. I've got opportunities to travel around the world and see what the world looks like from a private healthcare perspective. And it just seemed to be where the path went. And it seemed to be where the kind of journey ended up in the coaching world, of where I now spend the majority of my time working with business owners in the healthcare industry and outside of it, helping them perform finding the best version of them, unlocking their potential as a business owner, which then goes on to unlocking their potential of their business.
I'm really excited. I think it's no coincidence. Well, it's not a coincidence because I organised it, but the fact that in our Focus on Business month, we got 2 episodes which are kind of connected with coaching, which I don't think would have happened, definitely would have happened like 10 years ago, maybe not even 5 years ago, but it's a buzzword at the moment, which we were talking with Joe Turner and Joanne Elphinston, that it's good that people are realising coaching needs to be part of business, but they were kind of insinuating there's a danger as well, because how you interpret coaching and what you may pay for thinking you're getting some coaching might not be what your business actually needs. Is that fair enough to say?
I think it's very, very much fair enough to say. And I think, so I did listen to that episode, and I think they articulated it very, very well. And I think the way they articulated it around how, as a clinician, it's important to focus on other people, then, you know, that's exactly the same. You know, for me, coaching is all about the person you're working with rather than being the person, you know, shouldn't be all about the coach. It should be all about the person you're working with. So I think that's a really fair point to focus on. Yeah.
Excellent. And we'll pick up on that later on, I'm sure, in our discussion. And then Andy Thomas, thank you so much for joining. It's your first time on the show, so congratulations. Pop that cherry. Well done. Thank you for giving up your time. I don't know if you can say it. I might have to edit that out. But anyway, Andy, for people I'm sure people are very well aware of 𝐒𝐻𝐴. They might not know that you're the man behind it. Hopefully some listeners, this is co-founder. There's a few of you, wasn't there? 2 or 3 put it together? How did that start?
Well, it was just me and maybe my parents and my brother, but essentially it is officially just me. But there's a lot of other people that were involved in it. But yeah, no, it's a real privilege to be on here, because we've seen you guys at Therpy Expo and obviously been involved with Andy a lot. So yeah, it's a pleasure to share the stage.
Amazing. And also your Life Stories podcast, which I'm a big fan of. And as always, people, I do like pushing podcasts which are worth listening to. So check that out. I'll be referring to a conversation you two had recently. I think it was the most recent episode, which people you can catch. I think YouTube's probably the best place to see it, because you want to see these people talking face to face. But yeah, could you give us a breakdown then, Andy Thomas, for people who aren't aware? How did you get involved? How did starting up 𝐒𝐻𝐴 turn into your involvement these days in coaching and supporting healthcare professionals?
So I did a sports science degree, and then I started working for another company, basically running their equipment sales division. So I was working with things like biodex, dynamometry, objective testing, and I was visiting many other countries, seeing all this amazing tech, and I just thought there's massive opportunities to bring it into the UK, because we were quite a long way behind, and it really just motivated me to set my own company up, which is what I'd always been looking to do. And bring that tech over here and really make it accessible. And I think we're at a really exciting point for doing that. But then working with people like Andy or other coaches, I think, is really important. So I wouldn't define myself as a coach, but we're a company that's been able to bring this tech to market, introduce it to people, and really educate people around it as well. So it's not just about how it works clinically, but how does it fit within people's businesses. And really that comes back to coaching, asking good questions, trying to understand what their objectives are. So that's really where I see my role's been. And like you mentioned the podcast, we've been doing that for 4 years now, which is amazing. And that really is just because I'm genuinely interested in people and hearing more about them. So it's been great to get, when we've had 200 people on now. So it's really exciting for me to hear what drives people, what's brought them to where they are. So it's working with Andy on this project that we've got coming up is really exciting.
Excellent. So yeah, people, I do recommend that you check out the website obviously as well, if you're into technology, which I'm sure a lot of you are, and also Life Stories podcast on YouTube. It's a lovely channel, and I really like the focus you do on life stories and chatting with people about their lives, and it's really good listening, people. I would definitely have a look at that. So let's mention straight away that you two great minds are coming together, and there is a business clinic which you're doing in Manchester on February the 21st. I think it's the first time. Is it the first business clinic you guys have put together?
Yeah.
So that's exciting, and you're inviting MSK professionals to come along. When we say MSK professionals, is that like what kind of varied people have you seen so far joining up for it? From what different professions are joining?
From What we're looking for is anyone in the business who has their own business or is a leader in a business. I think they're the ideal people. Regarding MSK, fundamentally what we want it's not going to be a clinical based, so we're not going to talk about how to assess a knee, although we could do in the break if that's what people really need to do. It is fundamentally the idea is about people who are looking to run a business or a leader in the business to come together to share their viewpoint around business, around customer experience, around customer journey, around vision, and that's where the collaboration piece comes in. And that's what we're, the conversation that we've always had. I think I have to probably take Andy Thomas is probably the one that is the biggest collaborator I know. He's the one that certainly brings everybody together at the Therpy expos and stuff, isn't it? And it's around those tables and those discussions that we all sit and share our thoughts of what we're doing, and we get some honest feedback from other people, which becomes very honest, especially when they've had a beer or two. So, and that's how do we try and replicate what's been really helpful for us, and then use our experience to help facilitate it in a safe space for other people.
So it's equally open to single people who've got their own business or people who are working with a team, anybody who's looking to improve their business and speak with like-minded individuals.
Exactly, correct.
Yeah, from my side, no. So I visit clinics pretty much every day. So tomorrow I'll be in with three MSK clinics, and there are varying sizes. Some of them are one-man operations that are just starting out. Some of them are really well established. But I think when you're working in the business, is that common expression of working in the business rather than on it, you can get overwhelmed, and you're into the day-to-day of just operationally working through it. And I really find it valuable taking a step out of PhysEquip, working with other professionals and just working through things and being able to have a breath and reflect on things, speak to other owners, other people gone through similar challenges, talk through goals. And I find it really refreshing just to do that. So that's what I'm passionate about with this project, is that I hear so many of the same challenges, but people have got different objectives. But I think they benefit from just talking those through with other people and sharing things. Because although to some extent there's some level of competition, I really believe there's so much opportunity in this space now. It's such an exciting opportunity. It's like, look, let's really harness that and share ideas and push the whole industry forward.
Is this something that is more rife in healthcare than other professions? The idea of like worrying about what the clinic down the road's doing, or is it the same in all professions where there's a lack of collaboration? Either of you. I'm not going to pick one. That would be terrible. Like school again.
Go on, Andy.
So we were discussing this on our recent kind of conversation, and I generally think it happens in lots of different businesses. I think for me, I think just because we're more familiar and we spend all of our time in here, we see it a lot and we hear it a lot about it. I also think over the last 20 years of me being in this, what we have seen is the amount of clinics. I was having a conversation only this morning. When we set our first practice up, there was 3 clinics within a 2-mile radius. There's probably about 15 now. So, I think over the 20 years, there has been, quite a large increase in the amount of choice within the area. And depending on how you view that, I think people do get nervous, don't they? Especially if you are smaller practices. Now, I also think in our industry, if you look at other industries, most of our businesses are, in business terms, quite small, aren't they? Within, within a turnover generation, if you were to look at business terminology. So I just think a lot of people were a little bit more concerned around our livelihoods and the vulnerability that potentially we could be under. Don't know what you agree, and?
Yeah, no, I think also what we find as well is because healthcare, everyone's in a sales company, whatever you're working in, everyone's got to sell a product. Whereas I feel the UK aren't good at sales. We work with a lot of American companies, and like sales is definitely seen as like it's not a healthy word, a sleazy word. I think sleazy was the word, the word that's most associated with that. And I think that is changing. But in healthcare, because it is people's health and the healthcare professionals are there to genuinely help people, I think it's even more that with the NHS that there is almost that element of they don't want to be seen to be making a lot of money. And I think the vast majority are in that we see that they, maybe the business owner is okay with it, but then the team, like I was having a conversation with someone today and it's like, business owner was like, oh yeah, I need to get the team more pushing out whatever this is. And that can be seen. Some people will be like, oh God, they're just trying to make loads of money. Whereas that really isn't the case on it. It's just, I think there is a perception sometimes that you shouldn't be making money out of people's well-being and health, which I think it's as long as it's done ethically, I think that's the key thing. And it's something that is seen as giving the best treatments. I think that there is something that needs to be addressed, that mindset, because I think there is a big challenge of it. In America, it's so different to here. And I don't think America's right either, but it's so different to the UK. But I do think things are changing dramatically with the NHS where it is and people's awareness of different things. So yeah, I think healthcare is slightly different to other industries, albeit obviously competition exists everywhere.
There is definitely, and people are joining us live, don't let me speak for you, but I think it's one of the biggest problems, particularly with our audience who are not as many allied health professionals. A lot of them are private and they've got their own clinic, and there's a lot more hands-on work. There's a lot more thinking of the client's comfort, especially with the sports massage therapists, but also with the sports therapists. And there is a kind of a certain altruism to it, which is why people get in the profession. Because I've always said this, if you're prepared to rub oil into some hairy dude's back for a living and get paid not much for it, then you're quite a giving person. I mean, it's like, fortunately, there are people who want to do it, but it's difficult to have that mentality of I want to help, I want to get paid with thank yous, I want to see people getting healthier, and then also that problem of, oh, do I put my fees up £1, or I can't pay next week's bills, I'm just going to try and get more and more people in, and if I get more people in, I'll be able to meet it, rather than addressing I'm worth more, I should be doing this, I should be talking to the person down the road. So it is a big issue for our listeners, and people do try, if you're listening live, then do add in whether you've had that sort of internal conflict of putting prices up when really you just want to help people and you think it's black and white,
Well, I think with that, Matt, I think that's the reason why we're trying to do this, because if we can get everybody in the room to have those conversations, then it means if everybody is feeling similar, then it's asking the curiosity questions of what's the driver behind that, and then together how do we what works well and what feels good to within yourself to then go, okay, so what if you do put the prices up, what's the consequence? And then I think sometimes is it an element of I put it up, how will people judge me? Is it my customers judge me? Whereas, if you've got 15 people in the room and they all turn around and go, actually, we're all going to do it as well, then all of a sudden there's almost that kind of reassurance in numbers that it can be the right thing to do.
It's a great point. And it really is. I love the fact that all these individual therapists who are scared of putting their prices up and are competing and are just trying to give 40, 50 people the best hour they can in a week, ultimately the patients, the people who they think they're helping, are actually not coming out winners, because there could be so much, I've heard you say, there could be so much more positive results for the patient at the end of this kind of pyramid of effort if there was more collaboration.
Well, I think for me, it's like when we talk around shared thinking around how's the best way to treat a knee, then I think a lot of people are very comfortable with that, aren't they? That shared decision making around, okay, so how would you approach this? How would you approach that? They're very comfortable with that. But then all of a sudden it comes down to the business. And I think we touched on this. One of the big barriers I find is that a lot of people identify the business performance to their own performance. So there's an element of going, well, if I tell you what's going to business, that's like telling you my inner secrets. And also, if I make something, is that a judgment of me? Well, actually, it's not, is it? you know, that, you know, how you are as a therapist and what you do and that care you give in that room, and actually what your business looks like on a piece of paper, and you have to tell your accountant and the tax you pay. The two very, very different things. But I think because we really care and we start, you know, a lot of us, I was the prime example of a guy that set up with a treatment bed in a in a gym, you know, one room in a gym. So it was just me. So everyone that came in would call me. I would do all the thing. I did all the admin. So you do, I think, start to have that emotional attachment to your business. And it's only then when you grow, you have to kind of move slightly, detach yourself so you can make better decisions. And hopefully that's the kind of mindset shift that sometimes we can help people with. And that way you can make better logical decisions, because it's not you taking more money off the client, is it? Sometimes that money, you know, can be reinvested to create better things. And that's where, you know, I think Andy's a great example, because, you know, some of the kit that he can provide, if someone chooses to check him out and purchase from him, can create a better experience for some clients as well.
Well, I think just to add to that, I think that's where having coach is so important with it. And Andy's helped me. So, like, again, I've worked with Andy unpaid, which is even better. But he's like, I'll have chats with Andy, and it does, because you do run your business. It's stressful. You're so emotional, and it's really close to you. And just having someone that can take you out of that space and just look at something objectively, ask good questions, it just frames things. Like, all of us are trying to do it for the right reasons. I truly believe that is the case, that everyone is trying to do the right thing on it. But getting that out of your head and then feeling okay charging for something, like in our case, if we don't make a profit, then we can't go and research the latest tech. We can't bring that to the UK, invest in it, build out demo sites, run educational events, fund me doing podcasts, whatever it is. You need money to do these things. And so really it should never be seen as a bad thing that you're making money. Whereas I really think it is in this country particularly is bad. But I think that's where working with someone like Andy, who can just help you with that's what I find really helpful. Is just sometimes he'll ask a question, you just think, yeah, actually that's completely right. It's completely reframes it. So yeah, that's why I think it is really good having someone to get out of the space. And when we're talking about our events, again, I wouldn't ever class myself as a business coach, but I feel like I can ask questions that will get people thinking. And that's what we would encourage when we're getting people together. Is it's not like Andy's going to be facilitating a session, giving everyone the answers. We're all asking questions of each other, sharing ideas and challenging each other. And I think that's really important, is that everyone is a part of the process.
I want you to expand a bit on this idea, because I think I can imagine a lot of listeners relating to this, where especially in, like, again, when it's a one-man business, one-person business, separating the business from your identity. Because a lot of businesses, I'm thinking, and again, people in the live lounge, let me know what you think. A lot of businesses, they use their own name, for example, so-and-so sports massage, so-and-so sports therapy, so-and-so sports rep. So that makes it even more personal. So it must be really tricky. And their identity is word of mouth, is all social media. They use bigging themselves up, talking about what they do. Make sure you do a post, you know, having a nice walk one day or showing your dog. It's all devised to sell yourself and your soul, sort of thing. So it must be really difficult. So what are some tips for that important division of not being your business?
For me, the word that always comes to mind is boundaries, and creating boundaries of what that looks like. And when, you know, and one of the things that we spend a lot of time with businesses like that who are single practice owners, and, you know, when I work with those and their business is completely, even if it's not their name, their identity is so closely linked to the performance of their business that you know, if they're having a bad business day, all of a sudden they've become a bad therapist. You know, oh my God, I'm not very good because
so true.
My diary's not busy, therefore it's a reflection on me as a therapist, which isn't true, is it? It just means that somewhere along the line, you know, your marketing might not be optimal, or it's just the way the curves go in the industry. So for me, it's about trying to separate your life, your work life, and your personal life. And I think it's really important that people create some level of boundary and some level that, so, you know, so you can't be contacted on a Sunday at 6 o'clock because someone wants an appointment on Monday and you're replying at 6 o'clock on a Sunday, where what you should actually be doing is spending time, you know, catching up on your Netflix, or, you know, reading your book, or spending time with your kids or your partner, or going for a nice meal and doing things that normal people would do if they were employed, you know. And I think it is, and it's really, really important, because for me, what happens is, and we've all been guilty, you know, me included, was that, you know, because we don't want to lose that person, we'll reply on a Sunday, but then we create that habit, don't we? So then it's acceptable for them to then text you on a Sunday, and they know you reply on a Sunday, so that behavior continues. And then they know you reply on a Sunday, so then when they tell their mate going, oh, just text him, it's fine, and they'll say, oh, it's the weekend, it's all right, don't worry, he always replies to me on a Sunday. So then that behavior carries on, so people then become overwhelmed. And I think that's the sad part of the world I live in. You know, not everyone comes to me going, oh my gosh, I'm trying to start out, and I want to start for the blank piece of paper and what does the world look like. Unfortunately, most people come to me when they're overwhelmed or they're stressed, and they really need to kind of optimize things better. And so, you know, I think what we're trying to do with this collaboration is to say, look, you know, how does everyone feel? How do we manage this? How do you manage this? How do you change this over a process? How do we change the narrative with clients? You know, so that you can become the clinician and switch on when you need to be. Because, you know, I think part of our job, and then like Andy was saying before, I think all healthcare professionals come in to do their best. We know, when I run a lot of my workshops, one of the things I always ask is, who actually came in to be a bad therapist? And no one does it? We all try and give our best. The problem is, if we're always giving our best, what energy is that taking out of us? You know, and then you're tired, and then you go, okay, I need to spend some time developing, growing the business, but I'm knackered because I've given all my energy away. So I think it's, you know, and so if you are actually trying to enjoy your job or enjoy your livelihood with this profession that we've, you know, we all love, you know, I'm still 20 years in and still love this profession. You know, and that comes from trying to find balance, doesn't it? And I think that that's the important part, that you can take that time and not feel guilty for taking time away, and also sometimes not feel guilty for saying, do you know what, I'm not going to reply on a Sunday, I'll wait till Monday morning to do it.
That's really interesting as well, because I bet for a lot of people, I know from personal experience, it has been the driver of picking up that phone and answering it and booking that person is, you think, oh, so-and-so down the road will get them otherwise. Whereas if you all collaborated and realized you're all feeling burnt out and really don't want to pick up the phone, and you kind of think, yeah, why are we all doing this? Let's just not do it. Let's just enjoy our lives and spend time. Then that stress is gone, because you all think the next person's doing it.
Maybe, but then what then happens is that, you know, but that person down the road has now got the problem of being overwhelmed and burnt out, where you're quite chilled. Do you know what I mean? So then all of a sudden, and we've all done it, can we all generally say, if we're absolutely maxed out, we're providing the best quality service we've got? Or are we just sometimes going through the motions? And so therefore the quality that we're providing could actually decrease over time. And then all of a sudden that, you know, if your brand is based around your quality, but your quality is decreasing, then you haven't got a long-standing business. So that would be my humble opinion anyway on that.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point. Andy, you look like you're going to add to that.
Yeah, no, I think what Andy's point, which he's made to me over the years as well, is I think those boundaries and just creating those fixed things that you're not going to compromise on. And it's really important. You have got to look after yourself really before anything, because if the business owner goes for whatever reason, then what happens then? You know, everyone's in a much worse state. So it's really important. And also the most likelihood is that if someone's joined that organization, they've joined really probably because of that leader. They've joined because they want to work with them, they align with them in some way. And so really it's how do you empower, build up the team and build that support network to help you do what you want to do. I'm a massive advocate for really playing to your strengths and doing things that you really enjoy doing. Like I really encourage that in my team, is to, You get people doing what they want to do. Yes, you may have a core set of activities that you need to do, but do things that really invigorate you and you enjoy doing, and it gives you energy. You still need the boundaries, but you're far more motivated and driven if you've got things that you're really striving towards, rather than just, right, I'm turning up to do a 9 to 5 or whatever your hours are.
And just in addition to that is, and talking about this boundaries, and but again, I think it's important because we're highlighting it. There's always an element of going, well, how do we do this? And one of the things I think we even touched on it on that when at Therapy Expo this time, when we looked at this kind of pre-expectation and expectation matching, you know, and I think it's important that if we don't set expectations of what it's going to be like and how we're going to contact the customer when they can contact us, then they will just assume it's all right to contact us whenever, because they will know you by name and they will have some rapport with you. And so I think it's important as a business. You can change the expectation or at any time. You've just got to, you know, and you can have that conversation just to let you know from now going on, I'll only be available, you know, Monday to Friday. Or if you want to make an appointment, then we've got an online booking. Just book online, and then you can go that way. So again, you are protecting yourself, but you're explaining it. And I think that's the biggest issue we see. Sometimes people make changes in the business, but forget to tell the clients actually they're changing. So it's just about how do we change the expectations.
Great points. So already then basically we're saying how collaboration can help everyone realize they're in the same boat, all getting tired out, all getting stressed out, and relate, and therefore that makes us change our own behavior more, and we hear other people doing it, the so-called competition. What are some of the other ways which collaboration can help businesses over just thinking about competition?
Go on, Andy, I'll give you this.
I mean, it's not to dwell on what you should be charging for things. It's really not, because ultimately part of getting people together is understanding everyone's got different objectives. But I think I go back to working on things that you want to work on. So with diagnostic ultrasounds, for example, that's really grown in the MSK space, but it's expensive. It's 20 grand if you want to buy a decent system. Education, maybe double that as well. So I think really trying to understand what is going on in the space, how other people are making this work, how they've integrated this, sharing. Mentorship's a big problem with diagnostic ultrasound. And that is you can only learn by coming together with other professionals, spending time with them, understanding how they're working with it, how have they integrated these things. And rather than thinking someone else has got some equipment, all right, that means I'm not going to get that. It's like, actually, no, a lot more people are aware. Like if you look at Shockwave, that's probably one modality that clients actually know what it is. So therefore, they may ask for it, whether it's right or not. That's down to the clinician to do that. But the more people are aware of the different services that are being offered, the raising the demand is that's just like that's a proven fact in any business circle. So I think really I just go back to not worrying about what everyone else is doing and really establishing what you're passionate about and what your objectives are. And by speaking to other people, you might realize actually they're going after a completely different market. They're trying to do that. Great. Good luck. That sounds really good. I might even be able to work with you on that. So until we start speaking to people, then you actually don't know, and you're burying your head in the sand and you're overthinking. And then it's like, oh God, they're actually, I can't stand them. And then you speak to them and it's like, actually, they're really sound. They're they actually have really got on well with them. So I think at the very least, give it a go. Now, you might hate them after you've had that conversation, and that's fine too. But at least if you try, I just think that's really what I've built my career on, is speaking to people. And some I get on better with than others, but that's fine. There's always something that comes out of any conversation. And so that's why networking, collaboration, whatever you want to call it, I'm just a massive advocate for it, because it's continuing growth, learning, understanding, finding out what's happening. I just find it really stimulating myself, and I think it really helps move everything forward.
And for me, I think there's two things. I think why would someone want to come to an event where to collaborate? And there's two parts. It's either learn something new or confirm what you're doing is the way that everyone else is doing it. And I think, there's the confirmation. you know, sometimes is lovely. And my story with this is with the 𝐼𝐹ont conference, and I was, as everyone knows, I'm quite shy, so I'll never talk to anyone. So I'm stood in the queue. I know it's being sarcastic. So in the queue getting a coffee, which is again part of my daily routine on a regular basis. And I just literally turned to the person next to me and said, having a good time? And they went, no, not really. And I said, oh, right, what's happening? Well, I've been to all these lectures and everything that they're saying is the right thing to do, I'm already doing. I've not learned anything. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I said, so some of these speakers are seen as the best, you know, musculoskeletal manual therapists in the world, or at least in Europe. And you're saying that the way you see the world is exactly the same to them. And you see that as a negative. I would be gutted if I'm the best people in the world are saying this is the right way to do things. And actually, I'm doing the complete opposite. That would make me challenge my beliefs more. So isn't it nice to know that the best people in the world are saying this is the right way to do things? And that's already aligned with your way of thinking. I'd be thinking, oh my gosh, I can go back to every single one of my clients and go, did you know what? The approach that I'm delivering is actually what everyone says is the right way to do. You know, so actually sometimes that can be really, really helpful in your business as well. Because, you know, when you're a lone practitioner, going back to this, and you're making decisions based on what you think is right, sometimes you will doubt yourself. And that's just normal human behavior, isn't it? Where you think, well, is there a better way to do it or is there not? Well, if you've got 15 people in the room, and the idea of what we're trying to create is a really safe space where you can literally come out and say, well, this is what I'm doing. And it's a non-judgmental space. And someone goes, yeah, I do that as well. Oh, I do that as well. All right. How do you do it? Well, I do it like this. Oh, I haven't thought about that. I could actually add that on. Oh, brilliant. So all of a sudden, not only you can refine and define your own practices, or someone could go, actually, we tried that and we found this one was a little bit way better of doing it. Oh, I never thought about that. Oh, fantastic. I'll have that. So all of a sudden, you know, you're either going to go, oh, actually, this approach is really good. I just need to be patient with it, or I need to continue doing this well, which then frees up my mind to go, I can go and do something else because I'm not worried about this. Or it can mean actually someone else has gone, well, I actually refined it by doing this. Oh, brilliant. I'll take that little perler away. And that's where the conversations come from, doesn't it? You know, when you have that ability where people can talk openly and honestly, then they're going to get those little things. I think Nikki's just put in there, you know, every time she goes on a course, it's the people around them that energizes her. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's the buzz of being with other like-minded people together, I think is a really deliverable thing, especially if you're going to come away with some pearls that you know is worked and proven by others. I think it's really, really important.
Definitely, yeah, just to add to that one as well, I think this is something which I'm seeing all the time. I go into clients that may be a podiatrist, osteo, physio, sports rehab, sports therapist, and there's so much politics between each one of them, and it's like, they do it differently to us, and and it's rife everywhere. It's that is what's being said. Whereas that's why we want this to be blankets, MSK clinicians. It's people that are doing this. We're all on the same team here. We're all trying to do the same thing. And let's try and cut away from that and learn from what the other profession is doing, whatever they're doing. There's no one right way of doing anything. I think that's really important to try and get that mindset. Is that anyone who comes to our sessions, we want them to be open-minded and come in with a positive frame of mind. Because if you come in, well, actually, if you want to come in a little bit, oh yeah, I don't want to speak to them or whatever, then that's okay. But you've got to be open to change those things, because it just doesn't help your own mindset. So that's really what I'm passionate about, is how do we help get these people thinking slightly differently on, well, yeah, they're doing this. Maybe could learn something from that as well. And try and really destigmatize professional names, because I think people do get shoehorned into that. And there's good and bad in every profession, whether it's in healthcare or not.
And I think Andy said the thing that sometimes what's also nice is, you know, if you're at any level, if you're in a busy clinic and you're the you know, you've got 20 staff, you know, your responsibility is higher because you've got to make sure everything works, because you've got 20 mortgages that relying upon you, you know, or if it's just you on your own, you've still got responsibility. And I think the real strength is if you're taking yourself out of your environment and plonking yourself in an environment where you've all got very similar kind of stresses, it gives you the opportunity to think differently as well, doesn't it? You know, that's the, you know, it's what you can see. I spend all my time with post-it notes. This is a session I ran the other day all over. And it's just sometimes taking your stuff out of your head and, you know, and just writing it down or saying it out loud. You know, sometimes saying things just out loud to somebody, you go, it's not even a good idea, is it? No, it's not. Well, at least you recognized it, so you won't do it. Or sometimes you actually say it out loud and you go, oh, actually, that was a really, really good idea. I'll write that down. Brilliant. But you're in a different headspace and a different environment. Again, with motivated people, that helps you, doesn't it? That brings you up a level as well, and that can energize you more. And we will certainly be asking some questions to spark thought and discussion, which is what it should be about, isn't it? That's to challenge your thinking, to ask you, can you see the world in a different way? If you could see the world in a different way, what would that look like? And then how could you make it happen?
I think that's what I was thinking as I was listening to you both. This collaboration is obviously a great thing, but it must be tricky for people like yourselves. Like, you're putting on this event where you're inviting different business owners to come along. You're inviting a load of people who might be quite, what's what I just nearly came out with, they're going to be quite shielded. They're going to have things they really don't want to say. They're going to need some prizing open. You might have somebody who's very outspoken, but not actually really opening up, and all sorts of different characters, a bit like at school again with adult education or something. So it must take some really clever coaching to get.
Yeah, well, Andy is the boisterous one, so that's okay. So I
missed that then.
You're the one. You're the boisterous one. So yeah, that's okay.
It must be really tricky, because there are some difficult questions, aren't there? To get someone to open up and break down those layers, it must be hard at meetings like this. I mean, I doubt everyone walks in the door and you give them a cup of coffee and they all just start bleeding their hearts out. It must be quite difficult.
Well, so interesting. What we're doing with this is a very different approach. So what we're actually getting people to do is meet the night before.
Oh, clever.
So what we're getting everyone to do is to have, so the idea is, so instead of turning up blind, meeting a load of people that you've never met, we're literally having we're just meeting the night before. We're all going to go and have a bit of fun activity, bit of team bonding in Manchester before. And the idea is that way we can kind of get to know each other personally, so that, you know, we can get to know the person before we start again. So it's separating. So it's not all about the business, because at the end of the day, you know, we want business owners and business leaders, you know, and that's what we're focused on, is that person. So it's not, you know, and it's how that person develops. So that's what we want, is those relationships to start before we even start opening up. So the idea is to get everybody together the night before, where we'll have some activities in a little venue and have a bit of fun, so everyone can get to know each other on a personal level. And then the following day, then it's less scary, isn't it? You know, and that's the real key part for us, is to try and find that. I'm not saying everybody will be completely familiar and comfortable all of the time, but also sometimes it's quite nice to be in a situation that slightly challenges you. I think we've both got the capability to recognize if people are struggling, but the nice thing is we'll be there to facilitate them with that as well, and we're there to support them. So that, and that's fundamentally what's important to us, that everyone leaves with some really good value.
Is that, how are you kind of offering that? So that's part of this. It's not, you can't really make it compulsory. You have to come out the night before, but you were like encouraging people to do that, or are you saying part one of it is coming out? Is that something you're trying to push and make sure people do that? Because some people might not fancy it. The people who need to talk are not being the ones who are going to be at the bar holding shots, are they?
Well, it's not a beer session. It's
not
no.
But I mean, that was a metaphor there. But I mean, some of the people who maybe need to talk and collaborate, they might not like the idea of going out with you the evening before. I'm thinking maybe.
Well, everyone's got the choice, haven't they?
But you prefer them to come, because that's almost like part one of it, isn't it? That's going to really help them on part two.
I think it will be optimal to them to come out and kind of to come into that space. I think I also feel that if we're meeting people on a neutral level, and it's done, you know, not, you know, it's talking about them rather than the business, then they can, it's that identity that we want, isn't it? You know, we don't want the other identity of where they're defined by who they are.
Sounds very cool. Sounds very good. Just checking, we've had some comments in the questions. Gary here has said, let's have a look. We're going back to Gary, founder of the STA, says sometimes being financially and emotionally involved in a business doesn't allow you to see the wood for the trees. A lot of what I do is offering guidance and ideas instead of offering solutions. Yeah, that's nicely said, Gary. That's often what people need, isn't it? Some people need a good listening to. That's what Dr. Gary Mendoza like to say. And you continue supporting members through their decision making and then ensuring that they are accountable in a safe space where they can reflect on progress is important to me. Priorities and capacity seldom match. Nice points, Gary. You're on fire there. So let's have a little look. We've gone backwards and forwards to what have I got down here? The main thing I'm getting from you, and also I'm comparing it a lot to Joe and Joanne, is so much of what we do. I mean, we live in healthcare is famous for people burning out. I think just as much in physio, sports therapists, massage therapists. A lot of people who could be great for the industry are leaving because they're burnt out. And I'm thinking that what we're entering now, what you guys are talking about, all this focus on you a bit more, because you're in a giving profession, you need to look after yourself a bit more, is going to save a lot of people from burning out. So it's quite a healthy place to be. Would you agree? And I mean,
I think I'm a massive advocate for work in the business to make it work for you. So you've got to come before that. I'm terrible at doing it for myself, but I'm a big advocate for doing it. And that's actually something that I put in place about 18 months ago, was putting in a structure in place. And the funny thing is like when you're really trying to tightly hold on to something, of which I was, still had a great team, really trusted them, but it's like, oh no, I'm going to look after this bit. As soon as you empower other people to help you and get involved, not only is it great for you, it's great for them, it's great for the business, it's great for the client. You just think, God, this just really makes sense. And so I think it is being more open internally as well as with other people and giving opportunities. I'm a massive advocate for that. We just had this someone join us last week, so this is his second full week, and he joined me for a meeting. So I've been doing the job for 20 years, and this guy came in, Niall, and he joined the meeting, and he was absolutely brilliant in it, miles better than what I could have done. He's only been graduated a short period of time, but his fresh insight on it, his insight into certain bits of tech and things like that really make a difference. So you'd never have to do all of this stuff on your own. You can build this the way you want to build it. And I think it's just trying to have an idea of where you want to go, and then giving people opportunities to come and do the things that you don't like. Make it work for you. That's just do that. There's so many opportunities with it, whereas I think people can be quite hold the reins on things and quite restricted on sharing things. I think the more open you can be, only to a certain level that you're comfortable with, it really does liberate you.
So we use the word authentic a lot, one of you or both of you, I think in your recent chat. And each time you say it, I think people have different understandings of what you mean by be authentic, be yourself. Is that kind of what you're driving at, both internally and internally? Be authentic as to what you're after, what you're looking for, or what's your definition when you use it?
Just be yourself. Like you know when you're not being, because you get that feeling in your gut, and it's just like, you're sort of holding back or you're forced. So I think everyone really knows when they're being it and when they're not. It's just being honest and straightforward, honest feedback. As long as it's, I think, as well as when you're communicating, is delivering it in a genuine and caring way. That's what we've got within our team. Is that you'll give feedback, you'll be honest with it, but you've got to deliver it in the right way. And I think that's the same with yourself, is just think about looking after yourself. Don't compromise the way that you're operating or working. And I think it is as simple as that, really. I think also these sort of sessions can be helpful because it does help you define actually what are the things that drive you and just get you out of your head and actually document it. Because it's not always that easy to say, well, what are you? What is your driver? People may not know that. And I think it is really helpful to have that, and having that space where you can talk to someone or people who you can actually be really open with. that's crucial. So whether, I mean, I've got great friends that I can be really honest with, some more than others. Having someone in the business setting as well that you can do that, I think is really helpful.
And I'll be honest, it's tiring and emotional trying to be something you're not, isn't it? You know, if you're, and I think that's the hardest part. I think if you're playing, so for me, authenticity is, like Andy said, is just being comfortable with who you are and being comfortable with not knowing everything. And actually, there might be people better than you at certain things, but you may be better at other people, maybe better at other things, and that's all right. You know, this assumption that we have to be good at everything, and especially if you have got staff, that you have to have all of your things together. You know, one of the funniest things that I get when I present and I get lots of opportunities to talk is the amount of people come up and go, oh, you sound like you've got all of your eggs in a row and ducks in a row. And I'm laughing, going, oh, not a chance, mate. None of us have. You know, we've all got, you know, we're all, there's always something that we're all carrying around us, if it's something that we're unsure of and stuff. And that's, you know, but sometimes having been honest in those conversations and saying, I'm less good at this. Is anyone better at me than this? They could share what I could do better. You know, sometimes it's just nice to be confident to say, I don't know. You know, and I think that's where I think when we were on that podcast, I think you're referring to the authenticity is, I'm certainly very, very comfortable. You know, I'm certainly not perfect. I've got lots of flaws, but I've come to the point where, you know, they are part of me and I just have to embrace those parts and I'm comfortable with them. And it's actually quite relieving, isn't it? Because I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not. I can be who I am, and there are a lot of people, and I think for whatever stigma we attach as healthcare professionals, you know, every person that comes in, we have to be dead good and know all the answers, and we don't. So we don't, you know, and just like every single staff member, we don't always have to be the best therapist to coach the next generation. Sometimes us just asking good questions and then helping them go and explore those kind of things can be actually the best learning opportunity those people have got, without us having to know the answers, rather than just pretending we have to be dead good at everything.
Very cool. Yeah, that's making so much sense. I'm listening and thinking this will hopefully ring so many bells with listeners who are driving themselves to put on that kind of like mask a little bit, and they're knackered and they're seeing too many patients. They know they shouldn't be doing this, but they have to put on that brave face and see the next one and put on the smile. And, hey, yeah, really nice. And remember what they were doing last weekend and fake it and all this sort of stuff. When really it's not doing yourself any good at all. And you just kind of, it's a slippery slope. I like the idea again on when you were chatting on YouTube. When I say about this podcast, the best way to watch this whole conversation, if you're interested in this topic, is go along to the 𝐒𝐸𝐴𝐻𝐸 YouTube channel, and you'll see. I think it's the most recent one on there, and it's something I've always thought about. And it's a lovely analogy. I think people will recognise this. There's so many like Starbucks and Costas, they're like just next to each other, and people are going, "Oh, there's so many coffee bars opening up. It's ridiculous. And what's this town coming to?" Blah blah blah. But I think you talked about how that's like something we can actually learn from.
Well, but again, you know, that is the case, isn't it? You know, it's not are we having a coffee or not? It's where we're getting a coffee from. So that's the choice, isn't it? It's about, you know, what is your preference? And that's the part of the business owners. We also have to say, not every single person in your town or your city you'll be their preference. Hopefully you'll be the majority of the preference, but the idea of choice, you know, Harley Street for me is a great example, isn't it? If you want to go and have some medical thing, you just go to Harley Street. I don't know how many doctors are on Harley Street these days, but I'm assuming there's quite a lot. But they're all in a row, aren't they? You know, so I think the reality is that actually it then changes, and I think especially with private MSK, is that if everyone's quite close together, then it's the difference of, do I wait for the NHS or do I go private? Well, there's not much choice. I might as well go private. And then it's about, okay, so which one of you, or which is the customer most aligned with, and they're going to pick you, you know, and I think that's the key, isn't it? I think it's just being comfortable that there are choices out there, and that, you know, people will if you present yourself in the right way and they align with what you believe and what your values of what you're about, then they'll choose you.
So your business could pay off by actually finding somewhere that's already got a few therapists there, rather than trying to find somewhere you've got no competition and no one's going to go to. Then you realise there's a reason why no one's there.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the key thing, isn't it? You know, I know that where we are, it's really busy, and there's lots of people going to all those, and all of the clinics by me are busy, which is good. It means that, you know, there is a demand for what you need, so it's a good place to be.
And I guess you can collaborate more suddenly. You can't just walk past them with your head down and ignore them. If you want to have a look at the place, you're more likely to call up and say, hey, you're next door, can we have a little look around, have a look at my place? And
we actively, with our clinics, we actually refer patients to different clinics that are more specialist in certain things than us. And that's, you know, that's that. Likewise, you know, we have lots of conversations with our local businesses, and I have lots of coffees and chats with them, and that's something that we're really, really comfortable doing, because we're all slightly a bit different and we do things slightly different. So it's like, okay.
And I love the point you made that if you do meet up, rather than fearing what they're doing, you realize actually they're doing something I'm not interested in. They're providing something that I don't even want to do.
Yeah, or something I can't.
Healthy. Yeah,
you know, if something I can't, someone might have a different facility to us that we can't do. So therefore it works perfectly.
But if you look at, say, gyms like 20, 30 years ago, there was no gyms. Like, there weren't any gyms. Whereas now, how many gyms are there? And you've got David Lloyd, which is 300 quid a month. Then you've got Pure Gym, which is £20 a month. And they're both, David Lloyd, you can't get in the Manchester one. It's absolutely packed. So there's opportunities and there's things for everyone. And the more that these things are ingrained in society, and that is certainly happening in this space in MSK, it's a great opportunity to build something. And yeah, I think sharing the knowledge on things, a lot of the things that get talked about is that we don't know how to, we're not business people. And it's like, well, who is a business person when they start a small business? No one is. I certainly wasn't. But you learn, you become very good in knowing a lot of things. And that's why working with, whether it's coaching or not, it actually helps. Andy's not got the answers for anyone, but he'll help you get to the bottom of it. And I think that's what I find powerful, is just speaking to other people. So that collaborative stuff is so important, because like you say, it just actually is going to allow you to really focus on things that you want to do and ultimately thrive.
It's very powerful, very powerful. Right, well, look, time is creeping up on us. So people listening to this and hopefully they're thinking, well, this sounds like a great idea. And I know we've got some comments there thinking this sounds like amazing. So just to let people know that if they want to get involved with you guys, let's bring this up again and put it on full so people can see it. We're talking about Manchester, the business clinic, transforming the MSK industry together. And that's going to be Friday, the 21st of February. That's the 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then there's also a social on the evening before. But people can get information about this. What's the best address or place to go to? Is it highlighted on FizEquip or on your?
So yeah, so we've got the Eventbrite, so I can send you the link after, Matt.
Fantastic. We'll make sure it goes into the show notes as well. But yeah, there's something which could definitely get your minds thinking and going along to that, and then starting hopefully a new way of looking at things and collaborating with, maybe taking away the information from there and starting to collaborate with people in your part of the world. So that sounds great. Fine. And if people want to learn more about you guys, we're just going to let them know about how they can follow you depending on where they want to. Let me just get rid of that view because it looks like Charlie's Angels. I can't handle that.
Yeah, we can't guarantee it's going to be as good as Nikki's hen do that she went to, because that does sound good.
I was thinking that as well.
I want more details on that one.
Physical activities and games and drinking, obviously, with strangers. And hey presto, instant and genuine mingling later at the wedding. Yeah, mingling indeed. I bet there's a lot of mingling, Nikki. Thank you for that information, Nikki, showing us always. But yeah, if people want to follow either of the Andys, then obviously this will all go into the show notes. But if you listen to the podcast and you don't want to go to the show notes, then check out physequip.com. So it's 𝐻𝐲𝐸QUIPE.com. And then you could also go to andyhosgood.co.uk. I've already mentioned the YouTube channel, FizEquip channel. So make sure you have a little look at there. There's so many great conversations with a lot of guests who you recognize from this program as well. So interesting to listen to them. And then you've also got on Instagram, Unlock with Andy, unlock_with_Andy, which is Andy Hosgood, and then PhysiQuip as well on Instagram. And also we're mentioning LinkedIn as well, which we may well have someone on the show if I can about. LinkedIn's becoming so popular these days and a useful tool, more so than a lot of the other ones. So yeah, that might be interesting as well. Hook up on LinkedIn. Anything else going on? Andy, you said you're in Reading helping change businesses' lives over the next few days. That's what you're up to. Hosgood, what are you up to in the next couple of days?
Because I'm not busy enough, Matt.
Of course, of course.
I've started another postgrad diploma.
Oh really? Oh,
yeah,
you're joking. Yeah, we squeeze that one in.
So I just thought, right, I'd just add to it a bit more.
In what, do I ask?
Yeah, just another advanced coaching qualification. So I just again, it's one of those an opportunity for me to, even though the content would be very similar to everything I've done, it's my opportunity to be challenged by other people. So it's quite nice again to just refine and define my own practice.
Amazing. Practicing what you preach.
Correct.
Fantastic. Well, look, thanks guys for giving up your time. It's so kind of you. Yeah, I look forward to seeing how the business clinic goes, and then at a later stage, hopefully, having you back to tell us how it went, and seeing how this conversation here is inspiring other people, because there's so many ticks in what you're talking about. It really is amazing how it's bringing everything together that we're talking about, and such an important part of business, which we need to move on, don't we, about learning new tools of what we can do to people and start learning about tools of how to look after ourselves and therefore be able to help others. So it's great. So thank you very much for that. Right, people, that's it. We've reached the hour. The Focus on Business will be continuing. The last part will be next Tuesday on January the 28th. If you want to listen to the podcast, you want to join us live to ask the guest questions directly, then just look for us on social media, UK_STA, where there'll be links to it, particularly on Instagram. There's always a link to the next YouTube podcast there. But we're going to have part 4, CRM tools for soft tissue therapists. We figured that's a really important part as well. The software and hardware that you're using in clinic, again, to make life better for yourself in many cases, as well as for your patients, to take some of that stress away. And we're going to have special guest Ben Holyman, who's a senior product specialist at Jane Software, who's going to be joining us live at 8 o'clock on the STA YouTube channel, and also streamed as always on Facebook as well. So if you like the sound of that, I think you should do it. It's so important. We've talked about it a few times, but things are changing so quickly in different companies and businesses and possibilities and integrations and that. So hopefully we'll see a few of you along for that. Nikki Mansfield has said, thanks, Andy's and Matt. Fab Ep, liking the sound of the Manchester hen do. It's not, there's been no drinks. I shouldn't have said shots earlier on. It's not that sort of session. Macaulay's not going along, so it's going to be quite tame. Brian Huckley says, great session, guys. Really good. Thank you very much. Thanks, Brian, for joining us. Thanks to everyone for joining us live. It really makes a difference. It helps so much. The best feedback we get is people love the fact we do record it live. So thank you for that. Thanks, Andy Thomas. Thanks, Andy Hosgood. Appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Hopefully we will spend some time together. And in the meantime, just take care of each other. Bye-bye.